Hey, it's David. Today we're going to address something that's really key to the artistic path, and these are the two traps. I think the title of this episode will be something along those lines. Two traps that stop artists from impacting their fans or making the impact they're fully capable of. Something along those lines. Today's episode will probably be on the shorter side for practical reasons, but also because this is one of those things that artists tend to overcomplicate. And so the more I say on this, the worse it gets in a way. There actually isn't that much to cover. It's just being aware of these traps and the practical action steps that you can take to get there. And I think there will be some harsh truth moments in this episode too, so user beware. I try to let you know when something like that is coming. Some people still feel the need to criticize, and that's fine. I think we all have trolls. I'm just a little bit surprised or sometimes taken aback that people think I wield that kind of influence. I can't even get my email list to mobilize in a particular direction sometimes, let alone getting people to see things the way that I see them. I admit openly that I might be a bit of an unconventional thinker. My thought process has been challenged, not just by coaches and mentors and books that I've read, but also by myself. Like, I question my thoughts and I question my ideas and I question my philosophies too. And we do tend to wade into uncomfortable territory. So I don't know what else there is to say about that, except if you feel the need to criticize me and block me on Twitter or X as the case might be, I guess that just you do you, right? I can't do anything about that. And I feel like there are other people you could go after if you felt like it. Why don't you go criticize Gary Vee? He wields a lot of influence. Why don't you go after Pat Flynn or James Ramko? These people wield lots of influence. I don't know who I am compared to any of those people. So what are the two traps? This is not an episode where I'm going to gradually pull back the curtain and tell you what the first trap is and then the second trap is. I'm here to tell you straight up. The two traps are procrastination and perfectionism. Procrastination and perfectionism. By now, as an artist, if you've been at this for any length of time, you should be pretty familiar with both of those things. On the one hand, we've got procrastination, where we know there's things we need to do, but we're not doing them. And then days go by, weeks go by, sometimes months and years go by. I was just thinking about one of these projects today, oddly enough. There was a painting that my friend commissioned me to do, and I still fully intend to do it, but it's been years since he asked me to do it. He didn't pay for it in full or anything, so don't worry about that part. I think that we agreed that it would be paid in full upon delivery. It has not been delivered yet. I like the concept, but he was asking me to do some pretty complex things in terms of perspective, and that's prevented me from getting started on that project. So I'm letting you know that because I'm not perfect either, right? There's some things that are waiting in the wings. I think I would want to set aside a summer or set aside a couple weeks or a couple months to work on these types of projects, but just so that I don't have other distractions and so that I can learn the things I need to learn to be able to do that kind of project. But I also procrastinate. I also have those moments. Some things are easier for me to be in action about, I do find. And then the other hand, we've got perfectionism. Perfectionism is a weird thing because it's usually you insisting on things being a certain way. It has nothing to do with necessarily logic or practicality. And sometimes those things can sort of get tossed into the pot and mixed together. But perfectionism, when it comes right down to it, is you insisting that things have to be a certain way when they don't necessarily have to be. I totally understand. We're speaking to a lot of musicians here, so when you go and record a track and the drums are off time and it affects the feel of the song and it affects how the other instruments interact with the percussion and it just doesn't feel right, yeah, that's something that you might want to fix. So there are totally things that I would say are like 100% appropriate for you to spend additional time on is to get right. I tend to agree with that. I don't shy away from that myself. But the category of perfectionism that I think is most common, that I see most frequently, is the type of perfectionism that stops people from even getting started. They have a great idea, or they've got a few blog posts written that haven't been published, or they've got some graphics, or they've got some videos done. They have something in the queue waiting, ready to go. but they're waiting for the moment for this to be perfect. And there's fear there. There's fear about, well, if I release my book, there's so many AI written books now, what's the point about that? There's fear like, well, I have a brand new original idea for a song. By the way, nobody has a brand new original idea for a song. If it uses chords and notes, it's music. Okay, process that one. But I've got a brand new idea for a song, and I don't want anybody to steal it from me, so I'm gonna wait. And like, I don't even understand that one, because what are you waiting for? I say I don't understand. I can absolutely sympathize with a variety of scenarios, because I've heard all kinds of things to this point. I'm not saying I can't sympathize, but I am saying that logically I don't really understand where you might be coming from on something like that. So this is probably the most common thing that I see with perfectionism, is it prevents people from even getting started. I mean, one thing I'll say about this is, look, we're headed straight into a new era here, and I don't know where things are going with AI. I've shared some of my thoughts before, but I do see companies continuing to pump huge sums of money, not just companies, but investors and so on and so forth, billionaires, continue to pump money into the development of AI. I don't think it's going anywhere in the near future. Whether or not we can get it to the place where we want it to go is a whole other matter, but there's no question that we're going to try, and we're probably going to die trying. So if push came to shove and you didn't really want to compete with this AI that probably is at some point going to take over the internet, and the internet will be AI, and at that point you probably won't find me here, because I just don't see that being any fun for me. Your great idea or your great blog post or your great videos. Now, I'm not saying that they may not preserve their value, or they may not preserve some of their value. But by the time you finally get around to saying, well, I think maybe this is good enough to release, it may be too late. And that's one of the things I would say is, like, I would urge you to take a closer look, because there's all kinds of things out there already. Things are moving so fast. You can't necessarily come up with anything completely new or innovative at this point. I mean, sure, every once in a while we see something that's pretty unique, but most things that people can think of are being done and have been done. So if you want to claim your place in the market, I would suggest looking at it sooner rather than later. But I would say the core of today's message is actually this. I know so many people, and I keep hearing it, and I keep encountering and running into people who say, gee, I would like to write a book. Gee, I want to start a podcast. So they have all these notions and ideas of what it is they want to create, but day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, they don't actually end up creating anything. And some of these people, because I know them, they're part of certain communities, like creative communities, or they're part of podcasts and shows and live streams and things that are out there. They're already part of certain groups of people who are already creating. And I think to myself, gee, I don't know that that podcast is going to happen for you. And that's the harsh truth. I'm so sorry. But it seems to me you're part of a group already, or you're part of a show already, or you're integral part of a community already. Why aren't you leveraging that opportunity? So we talked about, really in the early going of this podcast, I think it might have been episode 2 or 3, right? Where I talked about hitch your wagon to a star. You have an opportunity here. You don't have to be the driven leader type. You don't have to be the self-starter. You don't have to start another thing that's out there just collecting dust. So often people want to launch these new things and don't really recognize that this is not a one-part equation. I can record a podcast episode in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I can put it all together in a couple of hours and have my show notes and my graphics and everything ready to go and published on my website. But that's the creation part. The marketing part is completely missing from your equation. You haven't even thought about it. So even when you do finally get around to publishing your personal podcast, because I guess that's the thing that you need to do, is it's just going to collect digital dust without that second part. It's like 20% creation, 80% marketing at least. Now, if you're not already part of anything, or you don't know any people, or if you're not connected to YouTubers or live streamers or podcasts, I get it. But if you are part of those communities, man, holy cow, grab a hold and don't let go. I don't know why people are refusing to tie in tight, because if you've got a driven leader and you recognize it as such, you should probably stay in the fold and be there as often as you possibly can. Show up, support, help out, contribute. Make it your show. Make it your book. Make it your website or blog or community or whatever it is you're trying to start. Because the thing is, you're probably not going to do it. You just aren't, because you already thought about it for days and weeks and months and years. Gee, it would be so great if I could write a book. Gee, it would be so great if I started a podcast. You're not going to do it. I say this because, and this is an important part of my coaching, and believe you me, I watch people. It's commitment precedes success. And a lot of people go, oh yeah, I get it. I'm good. I said, no, you're not hearing me. Commitment precedes success. The reason you don't have success is because you're not fully committed yet. They go, hold on. What are you saying about me? I'm not committed. Being committed means showing up. And sometimes, and it sucks, but it means showing up when you don't feel like it. Sometimes when you're not sick, sometimes when you're tired, sometimes when you're really sad about things that are happening in your life, you gotta show up. So when I see people committed, I don't have to ask them whether or not they've done anything this week to further their career. They come to me with a list of 5 things or 10 things or 15 things they've been working on. I don't have to poke them for it. I don't have to beat around the bushes for it. I don't have to skirt the issue. I don't have to do anything at all whatsoever, because they're excited. Like, look, I completed 10 things this week. I know those people are committed, and I don't have to ask them. But there are many others who are not. I don't necessarily want to keep those types of people. I try to have a frank conversation and say, look, John, or look, Jessica, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm happy to have you as a client. You're giving me globs of money. It's wonderful that you're here, and I'm glad to have you. But the thing is, you're not getting the results you should be getting. And the reason you're not getting the results you should be getting is because you're not in action. So I'm going to have to put this account on hold, maybe a month, maybe 3 months. Return to me when you've completed some things, and then we can move forward. But until then, you're not fully committed. And that's the harsh truth. So commitment precedes success. So again, let me remind you, and this will actually be a super freeing thing for many of you once you come to that point of either accepting it or allowing it, is that you don't have to be the star. You can hitch your wagon to the star. But I would suggest tying in tight, showing up, contributing, being there for as many things as you can possibly be, for as many recording sessions, or for as many live streams, or for as many writing sessions, whatever it is you happen to be participating in. Be there for as much as you can possibly be. Tie in tight, contribute, support, show that you care, and show it by actually being there. Because guess what? If you just leave that wagon hitched to a star and don't do anything, that star is going to run off with your wagon, and it's going to happen way faster than you ever think it will. I hope this helps. Unlock the secrets to skyrocketing your productivity, boosting performance, and maximizing profits with my latest premium guide, the Productivity, Performance, and Profits Black Book. Tailored for independent artists and entrepreneurs, this comprehensive resource is your roadmap to turning ideas into reality. Say goodbye to abandoned projects collecting dust on your shelves or buried in your hard drives. It's time to bring your vision to life. Grab your free copy of the Productivity, Performance, and Profits Black Book now at davidandrewweeb.com/blackbook. That's WIEBE. Don't miss out on the key to unlocking your success.